This is dropped on a wall past Wednesday here at SDH. John here, you there. And it's a pretty stacked show, considering that this is, once again, the love of the season with schedule compression. So it's midweek Whiparound in hour number 2. And Tyler Pilgrim joining us, as he always does, at 9:15 after we get opening kickoff up and running for the midweek show. And get you ready for Atlanta and Messi and friends tonight. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll preview all the other matches. And morning, Abby, from the heat of South Florida. Well, Abby is down there. I know that Bart is down there. And just stay safe and stay cool. Stay cool, y'all. For those of you that are down there to watch Messi and friends and Atlanta United go at it tonight. And we'll go through all of the announced teams, and we'll go through all of the officiating crews. And we'll see where out of 55 the center ref tonight is when it comes to the average number of fouls called in a match. And we'll see what to pay attention to when it comes to all your crews, all your news, and all the stuff when it comes to Major League Soccer. 3 matches in 7 days, or 8 for some folks. And it's Atlanta United, Messi and friends tonight. We'll have your preview coming up with that in just a little bit and get you ready with all the other news it's fit to print. Apparently, a club decided to wait the sum total of 12 minutes before announcing their successor to a coach that they released. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. And we'll see if the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, can join us. We'll see who else can join us and get you through your day here and to get you all squared away for everything going on in the world of Major League Soccer. So Abby says the high temp today is 84. Well, it's 84 right now and a heat index of 92. So high temp is 90. That's just got to be some of the most lovely weather. I mean, you're in a situation like that and you feel like you've got to double pack. And what I mean by that is you've got to prepare yourself for multiple things, even triple packing, because if it rains, you've got to be prepared for that. If it's this nasty this early in the day, then you've got to be prepared for that. And then assuming that you're going to blow through your clothes, you've got to come up with a third. So literally for a 2-day stay, you got to pack like for a week because of everything that could happen when you're down there in South Florida. So hopefully the suitcases made it under the weight limit and that you've packed for every possible contingency for those of you that are down there. And even for those of you that are down there like full time. To have to pack, or just be prepared to make sure that you're doing laundry almost at a 2 or 3 times pace, those kinds of things. So, yay! Absolutely. Fantastic. So, Abby's off and running this morning. And Hutch says, it's about the same as the water temp of the ocean in that area. And Hutch says you got to worry about other things as well. Yes, the 127% humidity, according to Abby. And Abby's there for 26 hours. So, technically, it's 2 days, so yeah, you got to pack for a week. You got to pack for a week in that particular situation. So, all right. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And where's my QR code? There's my QR code for those of you who are watching. However, you're watching us this morning as I cover up the other QR code, whether it's on the YouTubes, the Twitch, or the Twitters. Don't forget, when you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they have earmarked as being cool to help grow the game. Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Did you hear this? Did you see this yesterday? Morning, Alex. CONCACAF might be getting a new member. That would make it, I think, 43. Greenland. Talk about doing it on a rainy night in Stoke. Can you do it in a summer day in Nuuk? They've applied to become a member of CONCACAF. Football Association of Greenland came out with a release. and it's a nice little one pager, and they're ready to go. They'd be the 42nd, so there's 41. There would be 42. Application for membership marks a significant step forward for our ambitions to compete at a higher level, according to National Football Team manager Morten Rutschar. Worked hard to get here, and I'm convinced that this will inspire our players and develop our soccer culture. They'd begun a strategic collaboration with Iceland to bolster the program's international ambitions and help run home games. Formally submitted back on May 13th, they would surpass Anguilla and Montserrat when it comes to full population. Rutschar said through our connections among existing member countries in CONCACAF, they'll expand their knowledge and network so that we know what to prepare for with all national and club teams, long dominated by, obviously, U.S., Mexico, and Canada. CONCACAF held their first ever Women's Gold Cup this year, and the U.S. won that one as well. So our friends at Reuters helped us out with that. But Greenland, I would be in for that so damn quick. Morning four card. Could you imagine a friendly, or shoot, even something in the ways of a qualifier on the island? You go to Nuuk and you play. I mean, there pictures have been released about some really cool venues, some stadia that are right up against the water line, and you look. Morning, Tom. You look out literally maybe 100 yards and you see like icebergs floating away. I'm all for it. I'm all for anybody that wants to dive in, pardon the pun, to be a part of CONCACAF. Greenland, if you're a part of CONCACAF, that'd be fantastic. I'm all for them becoming the 42nd member of CONCACAF. There were some folks that had backed them as trying to get into UEFA, but for some strange reason, UEFA is like, nah, shoot. If it was me, I'd be like, yeah, come on in. That'd be fantastic. Four card says Costa Rica would not approve. But I'm all for it. Yeah, well, if Tom says you figure out how to play the match on the iceberg, but then you kind of get in international waters, and then you figure out, okay, so whose rules would apply in a certain situation like this? And then you'd have to get the players off the iceberg once the match is over. That might be a little labor intensive. I'm thinking that if you had them all in one place, it's like, look, maybe you put like put a big tow rope around the iceberg, make sure it doesn't move, or you do it in the winter when you know the iceberg ain't moving, period. But Greenland and CONCACAF, I'll allow it, considering that I have so much stroke to begin with when it comes to adding members to CONCACAF. But I would look forward to that. And of course, me, I would be one of the first ones to sit there and figure out where to buy the Greenland national jersey. Shoot, I may still try to figure out where to buy the Greenland national jersey and wear that. That would be fantastic. I would love that. Other piece of news came out this morning, at least to start things off for opening kickoff. Xavi was in, then he was out, and then he was in, then he was back out. Now Xavi's out. Xavi officially out. Club confirmed it in a statement this morning. They had their cute little sentence. And then 12 minutes later, they announced Hansi Flick. Don't even let things get warm or get cold. It's like, out. There's the door. Don't let the doorknob hit you. 12 minutes later, you announce Hansi Flick. And so Flick offered to Xavi's replacement, signing a 2-year deal. Xavi came back. He said yesterday, we said on the show yesterday that anybody that takes this gig, dude, you got an uphill battle. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Second in the league, a lot of points behind Real Madrid. Hansi Flick comes in, knocked out of Champions League, won the first leg 3-2, lost in aggregate 6-4. 2 Bundesliga titles, German Cup, German Super Cup, Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup at Bayern. Was a part of the German national team, couldn't get them out of the group stage in Qatar, sacked in September. And so 12 minutes after you sack one guy, you hire Hansi Flick. So that's where you are. You've hired Hansi Flick. No, I did not see this. Alex, you cannot be serious. The frozen teddy bears? Are you serious with this? Oh my God. And OG, you are absolutely correct. If I can find a way to get a Greenland scarf, I'm getting a Greenland scarf, especially if they get into CONCACAF and then they have like the scarf that's the announcement, welcome Greenland to CONCACAF, and it's in Greenlandese and all of that. I mean, I would get like the welcome to CONCACAF scarf for Greenland, and it would be in the office faster than anything. Absolutely true. Emilio, absolutely true. Got to get in to get out. Christopher Abel, not sure which would be worse. Costa Rica trying to play in Greenland in the winter or Greenland traveling to Costa Rica in the middle of summer. I think the players in Greenland would actually enjoy going to Costa Rica to play. Play at the National Stadium there in San Jose, get a bit of a vacay, get a couple of days of practice in the group stage, in a CONCACAF Nations League. But, I mean, and honestly, though, Greenland probably would be like in Group D of Nations League, so they'd be playing like St. Kitts and Nevis and folks like that. It would be like Anguilla, Montserrat, both sets of Virgin Islands. I think they'd be in Group D, having to work their way up. But I think that worse in quotation marks, it would be Costa Rica heading north. I think the Greenland players would actually dig going to Costa Rica and playing at the National Stadium just to get out of Greenland. I think then the problem might be getting back into Greenland after you've got your friendly in Costa Rica. But that'd be pretty sweet. It's like where are we going? How do you get there? I mean, literally it would have to it would either have to be Greenland to JFK or Greenland to London to JFK, and then you figure it out from there. And I'm sure that, the charters out of Greenland would be completely and totally inexpensive. That is tremendous. That is absolutely tremendous. The frozen teddy bears, that would be so cool. Dell, yep, it's a big match day for the Battery in Monterey Bay tonight. Well, like I said, we'll go over as many divisions as we have activities. Christopher Abel says they'd enjoy playing in Costa Rica until they'd all suffer a heat stroke. The polar teddy bears, even better. Yeah, I mean, 4-card, they would play. They would play in Nations League. They wouldn't like play in CONCACAF. Let me bring in Tyler, and we'll have this discussion to start things off. Tyler, we are having the discussion in opening kickoff about the possibility of Greenland joining CONCACAF.
Yes.
Can you do it on a cold day in Nuuk?
Which map of Greenland are we looking at? The one where Greenland's like twice the size of everything else?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you got to play on the southern tip, I would imagine. But
yeah,
every
day is an orange ball day.
Yes. Well, I mean, there are some very, very cool promo photos. It looked like, I think it's like the day of summer where they're playing on the surface there in Nuuk, right up against the water, kind of like Barrow High when they play high school football. They're right up against the Arctic Circle ocean, the ocean of the Arctic Circle, where you've got like icebergs floating off in the distance and that kind of a thing. But no, I am all for this, and everyone has already said in the Twitch pitch that there will be a Greenland scarf hanging here in Office HD as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I'm excited.
I mean, that would be really cool. But yeah, I think they would be like in Nations League playing both sets of Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Montserrat, Suriname, Sao Tome and Principe. It wouldn't be like the U.S. unless it was a friendly, which would be a great promo. It's like, okay, field trip, and SDH goes to Nuuk to do like live drops about it. I could see the email now. Credential application for the United States friendly in Nuuk, Greenland, going up against the Greenland national team. I mean, hey, the U.S. national team, we get all those emails about credentials and such.
Yep.
I can't wait for the credential announcement for the U.S. men's national team or the women's national team playing in Greenland. We're going, brother. That'll get sanctioned. We're going to do the show live from pitch side that whole day. That'd be epic. But anyway.
They have, I forget what country it is. I want to say it's like Denmark, and it may be Greenland, or maybe it's Denmark and another country that are arguing over a speck of land in Greenland. I can't remember. but it's this spot in Greenland where they actually come like once a year. It was fought over during World War II, and ever since then, as like a gesture of like goodwill, but to be funny, the two countries come and they place a bottle of whiskey right in the middle of this little island.
Okay.
And the other people they come and they get the other country's whiskey or alcohol, whatever alcohol it is. And I'm like, that would be perfect. Now you take that little speck of land, this little island, and just put a soccer pitch on it, and that could be where you have your derby days between the two countries.
Well, I mean, we know that this has absolutely happened before in the Paul McCartney music video, where where you have that happening, and it goes back and he recreates what happened in World War One.
Yep.
So I absolutely would see this, and I'm calling field trip. The second that that CONCACAF sits there and says, "Yeah, come on in, brother," I'm calling field trip, and we're going. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I will burn a hole in my credit card to make this happen. And Alex Pacine is thinking travel. He's like, yeah, probably Greenland to Reykjavik to JFK to God knows where. So that would be the travel plan. Think about the miles you could get.
Yeah.
To get all your frequent flyer miles. That would be epic. I mean, I'm all in just for the promotional sake and all of the above. So, like I said, selfishly, I want Greenland in CONCACAF. I can't wait for CONCACAF Nations League to be shown on Paramount Plus, where we can sit there and have them going up against both sets of Virgin Islands. And, I want to know the camera setup. How are you going to get a camera to show CONCACAF Nations League out of Greenland? How are you going to make this happen? That's what I want to know.
Could you imagine the just the climate advantage that one like team, one nationality would have when one of them has to travel either to Greenland or from Greenland to the Caribbean?
Mm-hmm. Well, and we were talking about going to Costa Rica in the Twitch pitch already this morning. It's like, who would hate it more? Costa Rica national team going to Nuuk or Greenland going to Costa Rica? I think I'd go Greenland would love it because they get a vacay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the Costa Rica national team heading up north to Greenland, that would be the one where I think that they would hate it more than the other.
Yeah, that would be miserable. Of course, I mean, I guess it does kind of depend. Like I love cold weather. I really do. But if I'm near a beach, I'll take the hot weather all day. That being said, after a while, being hot gets old.
Uh-huh.
And I could see like going and just jumping into a snowdrift for a little while before you go play soccer. It might help.
Yes, exactly. ATL and Sports goes drone footage only, but the thing you've got to make sure. Dell says it's like going to Minnesota.
Times 2.
Yes, and Alex says, yeah, it would be a pretty big burden group with smaller countries, economic pressure on the countries least able to bear it. I would think that CONCACAF would subsidize this in a certain way to where it won't hurt the idea of Greenland being in here, because the marketing value alone, Victor Montaliani and CONCACAF should understand, having them here, the marketing value would be amazing. And so I think that there'd be some subsidies going on in these tournaments, and with the money that you get from FIFA, I don't think you'd be hurting for the idea.
Yeah, no, they'd have to help them out somehow. It's not like FIFA and CONCACAF insert center or that thing here. Like they're not hurting for money. You're gonna be fine. Yeah, help them out, make it work. FIFA helped them make the movie Goal. All right, like FIFA will insert their fingers into whatever little thing that they think is cool. So all you got to do is pitch it to FIFA and CONCACAF the right way, and then it'll happen.
Yes, and Hutch lets us know and reminds us that they're a North American autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. Well, if the Danes can't help them get into UEFA, then open the door and let them go other places. That's what we're doing.
You're holding them back.
Yeah, man. It's like, let me go. You're holding me back, but there's no one grabbing onto you. But you're holding me back.
It's the snow. I'm frozen in place.
Exactly. When is Alaska going to get an MLS team? I think after Indianapolis. I think Anchorage. That would be a hell of a commute.
Alaska would have its own league.
Yes, absolutely. It's like Sitka. It's like the Alaska Baseball League, the Northern Lights Baseball League, Sitka, the Alaska Gold Panthers. You have like your own 8-team division and everything. It's like when they had the Alaska Aces in the East Coast Hockey League, and it's like, okay, I guess we got to fly up there for a roadie. How are we going to combine this? You end up with like 2 or 3 road games up there in that corner if you're flying up to the Pacific Northwest.
8,000 miles round trip.
Hey, like I said, as long as you get the miles and points, brother, that ain't going to matter. That'd be fine with me. It's like, look, you give me the miles and points, and that way I'm that much closer to hitting my marks and getting a silver medallion and gold medallion. I will take it.
I'll take it all day. And it's in the team. One of them, it's going to be the Gnomes.
Oh, absolutely.
The Gnomes.
But the thing is that do you do the GNOME on the front of the because like you have your city?
Yeah.
Do you do the GNOME or do you just go ahead and do the Gnomes GNOMES and just do the nickname across the front?
That is a good question.
Yeah. See, I think home you do. I think home you do without the S. Away you do it with the S.
Yeah. There you go.
See, we got the marketing down for the Alaska.
We got the home and away kits already set.
The Alaska division of USL League One. We've got it all squared away right now, man.
Yeah.
We got it. We'll talk to Van Tassel and see if anybody wants to sanction a Northwestern territory of USL League One and have it as like a separate division.
The entire community will be on the team.
Welcome to Wall Pass Wednesday, and that's what we're here for. When you look at, okay, that is an individual that I don't know. So that just screams. I don't know who this individual is that's attempting to call me on my phone. So we're just going to let that go and see if he wants to leave a message.
You were looking at somebody in the Twitch pitch, and I was like,
no. It's like somebody because I've got the caller ID on my phone, even if it's not somebody that I have in my system.
Yeah.
And so this to me screams like, I believe that would you like a certain
our warranty is.
Yeah, your car warranty is your small business refund is available from COVID. I'm like, okay, that not click, spam, click, do not answer. Now that we've had a couple days to think about LAFC, we went through reffing down here yesterday. It was its own 35-minute segment.
Yeah.
And as you're looking around the room already, did we miss anything in discussing Dog So Red, an elbow, lollygagging from Atuesta, Siri, what is a foul? What else did we miss in the lineup of what happened with Atlanta and LAFC, where you end up with game state and you end up with a set piece at a deflection that goes past Josh Cohen for a 1-0 win for LAFC as the streak is now at 9.
Inconsistency. I mean, you know what I mean? That's my like buzzword in terms of reffing. Like I don't care if you call a game hard or soft, man. Just call it the same way for 90 minutes as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be all over the place. It drives me crazy when a ref is just like, because like it has repercussions. It has like, tangible repercussions because the players don't know what they can do. They don't know what they can get away with. It leads to injuries. It leads to potential worse injuries. It leads to, silly red cards. It leads to arguments and then getting fines and all kinds of crap. And it's understandable from the player perspective because you're like, what can I freaking do? What can I, how can I play this game?
Yeah. It's
frustrating. I cannot stand when we even have to have a conversation about the reffing. It's just irritating. And, I mean, it is what it is though. Like in terms of the whole game, it was better, right? Like Atlanta, you started off, I don't want to say you start off slow. I mean, it was very like tit for tat, I think, with LA for the first half.
I don't want to know about your tats, sir. We got
yeah, no. I'm like, don't worry, I won't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But it went, it was, I think I wrote my article on a website. It was very like a game of inches, right? Like you had both sides had opportunities. It could have gone either way very early. LA was definitely, I think, more on the front foot, which isn't what you want. And they had those set piece opportunities more than just that one where Brad got the red card, and then of course Josh Cohen comes in and you know, so I mean, it was unfortunate circumstances. I think a lot of it that you didn't at least come away with a draw, but you also just, I mean, at the end of the day, the team has to play better at home. They have to win these games. They have to at least get a point out of these kind of games. Yes, the reffing didn't make it any easier, but I also you can't put everything on the ref either. It would be different if this were like one of those where there were like 3 or 4 calls that just completely changed, the flow. Let me rephrase that because it did change the flow of the game, but completely changed like the outcome where it was like super, super obvious. Um, I want to see Atlanta play like they did in the final 25 minutes. If they can play that way, down a man for some of it,
Yeah.
and just be that fiery and that passionate and that like, just I mean, they had LAFC on their heels
Mm-hmm.
and it looked fun and it felt like the goal was coming. And I understand that's not sustainable for 90 minutes because you would run yourself to death, but that's the kind of mindset that I think you have to come into the bins looking for.
Well, I think that we've seen in a lot of different opportunities, and I'm not just talking here locally, but when a team is a man down, they seem to play freer. And because there's more space that's available to the athletes going up against, in this particular case, a back line that could be had. I mean, Steve Cherundolo, like I said, one of my talking points about Steve Cherundolo is that this LAFC team is not the same ever since they got bumped out of CONCACAF Champions League. And that's how far back I'm talking because that's what it was when they lost.
Yep.
Traditionally, LAFC, if you're physical with them, you can knock them off their game. And I mean that both figuratively and literally, if I could get my upper plate to work this morning. So LAFC can be had in certain situations, especially when they're on the road. And, we talked about how tough it can be for Major League Soccer teams to win on the road. I think LAFC specifically is like at the front of the line for that. And so they feel like they've got to be uber physical, uber defensive. It's like, hey, Denny, go for it. We'll be right here. It's like it's the scene in Ghostbusters with Gozer the Gozeri, the original. Are you a god? Go get him, Ray. We're right behind you. It's one of those kinds of things with Denny Buanga. And you're having to sit there and navigate that if you're LAFC. But I think that teams do play freer because of more space available. And we saw that when Atlanta United was down a man after Brad got the dog so red.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like I made the comment in the press box to Jackson, like we were watching the team and it's like, y'all look like you're playing up a man right now.
Mm-hmm.
You looked that aggressive. And also taking into account game state. And this is one of those things that I wanted to ask Pineda that night, but obviously it was a very kind of a shorter press conference. And I was thinking about how I wanted to word it. And the next thing I knew, like the press conference is over. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the best time to ask this question anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I understand that game state is a real thing.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah. So like you're down a man, you have to chase the game. I mean, you're down a man and down a goal. You have to chase the game.
Yeah.
So you have to turn on the afterburners to a degree, but it looked more than that. And yeah, I mean, if you've got the space, and then of course when LA goes down a man, now it looks like you're playing, on a pitch that's twice its size because you have 20 minutes at a 22. So, I mean, to a degree, I think there is something there to be tapped into. And I think just going back and just watching this team week in and week out, I think there is some predictability in terms of, how the attack is going to play out because Atlanta does a great job getting into the final third. They're one of the best teams in the league doing it. It's just once they get there, they're so predictable. And it typically comes down to, you play out to the wings, the ball is going to get inevitably probably crossed in. But where Atlanta had success in this match was when you would have the underlapping runs from Saba or Brooks or Shande or occasionally Caleb or Mosquera when he came on, where they would cut further back inside and take on the middle a little bit more, closer to the top of the box instead of the outside of the box. And I think that little bit of unpredictability and just being able to switch it up a little bit is what gave you some of your best chances of the game. And going back other games, that's what's giving you some of your better chances because, it's great to have a Yorgos Yakimakis in the box who's going to win aerial duels, and you've got Brooks Lennon who can send him in, on a dime. But that just, one, you've had injuries, but two, like it just hasn't been working the way it was, right? And um, you've got to have something else that's a little more sustainable and a little less predictable. And I think you can still make this system and this scheme work. It just can't be the same thing over and over again.
Well, then let me ask you this. When you have a talisman, is it not something of a predetermined defensive tactic to crowd the box to make sure that that guy doesn't get his reps, and so you don't have the room inside the 6/12 to do what you want to do, and you're having to, you know, launch in crosses from the edge of the 18, or shoot from the top of the box, or shoot from the outside, just from outside the 18, because these teams pack it in and force you to try to do things from the outside in.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, and I think that's where a lot of teams have kind of cemented their game plan when it comes to at least Yakimakis. Like, you've got to surround him. You've got to get him out of the game as best you can. And that's where it comes down to the players to step up a little bit. I mean, you go back to Nashville, and I'm screaming at somebody to take a shot, and what does Slish do? He puts his foot through the freaking ball, and like you just at some point you've got to take some shots, right? Like from that top of the box, just outside, just inside the box, whatever. Get the ball into, Pineda calls them those primary assist zones there, and then send the ball in. Again, it's, you have the pieces that are working, right? Like we see them work. We've seen them work. And I think that's part of why everybody's so frustrated right now, is because the attack, it's there. Not a lot has changed in the attack. It's just not clicking anymore. And so, like little simple things, right? Like you look at Brooks Lennon. When Brooks Lennon is making a run down the right wing, especially like when we're at home, you can see this just because it's in person. You have the right angles. But Brooks Lennon, his favorite thing to do, and I can tell you this having never played against them, is to make that very vertical run down the right, and he's going to slow things up, and then he's going to try to take a little bit of space towards the box, and then he's going to cut to his right foot and send it in. He was doing a lot of that in 2022, and then 2023 comes around, and we read about him and hear about him and talk to Pineda about him doing all of these things to watch film to improve himself, both offensively and defensively and everything else. And he started to mix it up a little bit. He started to be a little bit more dribbly and change things up. And the way that he attacked was slightly different. He would make runs from the right back position through midfield, help out in the buildup, and then all of a sudden he would be in the box, and it's little things like that just aren't happening as much anymore. And therefore it just becomes a little bit too predictable, because no matter what, that Atlanta is going to try to build up down the wings. And I'm not trying to get off on like this whole tactical like tangent here, but it's just, you've got to be less predictable. You can't, I mean, these teams have professional film reviewers. Like they have guys that this is what they do. They're going to pick up on the little nuances. MLS Cup in 2018 was won because Michael Parkhurst knew that, I forget what player it was.
Was it Jeremy? Was it Abobasi?
It was Abobasi, yeah. Tended to do, a specific thing on his like first touch and everything. And Parkhurst picked up on it and was able to cause the turnover that got sent back to Joseph, and suddenly you're up 1-0. It's those little things that makes such a big difference. And right now, from Atlanta's perspective, I think you're just doing things too many times the same way over and over.
Well, but at the same time, I would also posit that the players, and we've seen this every single time out, and we went back yesterday and looked at all of the last 9 results, and they're all either obviously draws or they're 1-goal losses. And we get into game state when we talk about all those other things. But if you were to see the players have not given up on the ideas that are being given to them on a daily basis. They have not given up on Gonzalo Pineda, because I think that you would see worse results on a day-to-day basis, on a match-by-match basis, if they didn't. Because if you talk about game state, one thing happening here, one thing happens here, you're more clinical. This 9-match winless streak does not exist. But you've got guys who haven't given up on the system and they haven't given up on the coach, or things would be far worse, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get asked like every day now, it seems like, whether it's in our Discord or on the website or in the show or in whatever capacity, like, has Pineda lost the locker room? And I don't feel that way at all.
So
I
has
really
Pineda
don't.
lost the locker room, Tyler?
No, he has not. I don't think he has. Because, like, I mean, exactly what you said, you would be looking at some. I'm not going to say that because I can hear the responses now. You would be looking at some much worse soccer.
Yeah.
Had Pineda lost the locker room, I think you would have probably at this point somebody would have come out to somebody and said something publicly about how they're not happy. This is ridiculous. Whatever. I don't know who it would be.
You get the tweaked soundbite where you could sit there and take it a different way. It's like the pointed soundbite. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't think we're at that point. I do think it is very demoralized in terms of like the locker room, 100%, which you expect. And that's a factor, and it's going to come down to, at some point, you got to scrap out a win somehow.
Yeah.
And whatever you got to do to get that win is probably going to be a season-changing moment for this team.
So then let's talk about today. And going up against Messi and friends, I haven't looked at the juice boxes. We'll do that, later on. But it would make sense that Messi and friends would be a prohibitive favorite, heavy on the minus side, with Atlanta United coming to town. And Tata said that 3 of the big Messi and a couple of his big friends would be available. But obviously, you can't look past Atlanta United because you've got all caps coming to town, I think, as well on the weekend. St. Louis City SC. I think that's how we have to say it, actually.
Yeah, scream it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more emphasis. So it does make you wonder what the lineup looks like and see how things are going up against this team. You look at the back line, though, and this is what I've always maintained about going up against Messi and friends, is that back line ain't it. And if you can do what Atlanta United is capable of doing with the speed on the wings and getting past the large, tall, older bodies and start running at guys like Sergei Kritsov and whomever, opportunities will be there for Atlanta United if you get it to that back line and can work your way around and through it.
Yeah, the whole tangent that I just went on about, being less predictable, you need to stay out of the midfield as much as possible in this match. And that's not a knock on Atlanta's midfield. That is just, you just need to keep the ball on the other side of the pitch as Lionel Messi. I mean, I know that we say that all the time. We say it all the time. But, like, you've got to limit his touches as much as possible, because when he gets it, he's going to take advantage of it. I'm like preaching to the choir. I know that. I don't know that, Giakoumakis gets much time. I think he could get some time. I mean, he's off the list, but you still have some big bodied guys, right? They can get up there. Messi doesn't play defense.
No.
To that degree, right? He's not going to drop back as much as maybe some other number 10s will drop back. So get it into the final third, past Messi. Don't cause any silly turnovers that are going to allow you to be punished, because you will be punished if you cause something stupid. And then, I mean, you have to mix it up a little bit in the final third. Defensively, I look back at this stat that I posted late last night because I was working after moving all day.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we were moving. We not far, like,
okay,
not far at all. But it was a very long day. I'm so sore, and the media game is coming up Friday, and I'm trying to do recovery like as best as I possibly can.
Ice baths,
yeah. But no, there's this stat that in You know what? If you give me half a second, I will read it out loud because I don't want to get it wrong.
Sure.
It's
No
very,
worries.
very precise numbers.
Yeah, and there is a question from Dell down in Charleston about losing a locker room in an awful
Yes.
season that we'll get into.
All right.
So there is some certain filibustering. And by the way, we do have our referee assignments for the night. Armando Villarreal is the man in the middle. Your ARs are Kyle Atkins and Kevin Locke. Natalie Simon is your fourth. Your VAR is Kevin Stott, and your AVAR is Fabio Tovar. Looking at Armando Villarreal's numbers on the year, pretty much middle of the pack. He has 5 times in the middle, average fouls per match at 25.6, which averages out to basically 2/3 of a foul per tackle. And he's got a little over 5 yellows in a match. So 5 over 25 is what? 20%. 20% of Armando Villarreal's foul calls end up being cards.
Yay.
So maybe 26 yellows in 5 matches. So it's a what is that? It's a 5.2. So, and he does have 2 reds to his dossier this year. So 5 yellows a match, 25.6 when it comes to fouls per game so far this season. But that puts him middle of the pack and nowhere near Sergi Boyko's numbers.
Yeah, and Atlanta needs to come into this match. If you're in the starting 11, I need you to be like immature. Like go in and like start making fun of people's mothers or so. Just piss them off. Like make them get yellows. Do what you can.
Just sit there and point your fingers and do the yapping and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Learn from Edward Atuesta and apply that forward. Basically,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
100%.
Okay. Did you find your stat that I
killed? I did. So 0.7 are the goals conceded per 90 when Stian Gregerson is on the pitch for Atlanta United.
Yes.
They've only conceded 4 goals in 506 minutes when he has played, and they have conceded 13 in the 919 minutes that he has missed. So, you can't always look at one defender and, base the entire defense and the stats around him. That's unfair.
But.
Yeah. But when that guy's on the field, the team defensively looks much better in many, many ways. And he is your kind of break glass in case of emergency person, like Miles Robinson was, because he's athletic enough to handle just about anything out there, but also he has the soccer IQ to know when to slow things down. And that's not a knock on Miles. Please don't take it that way. But he reads the game well. He reads the game well, and he's able to slow things down when he needs to. He is able to, break you out of jail if something bad really happens. And that's fully expected to happen tonight, not because of anything that Atlanta might do, but because Miami has Messi playing on the field. You're going to have those moments where you're going to have to come up with something spectacular defensively to just help out Josh Cohen in goal. So he's been, I don't think it's like stretching anything to say that he's been one of the best signings I think Atlanta's had in a few years.
Because he is the LFTM, he is the large, fast, tall man,
Yes,
and when you have a free safety like that, then you can your defense, your rush ins and your linebackers, they can take some chances occasionally when you've got a free safety like that in Stian Gregerson. So looking forward to obviously Stian getting back to full song. But the question that was raised from Dell, and it has a couple of different sections to it, is losing the locker room the key factor for a front office to fire a manager? And even if you're having an awful season, if the team doesn't hate you, then you keep your job. So Dell is just curious in that.
I mean, no, because it's a results business. I think it might buy you a few extra matches, but I don't think that's going to be one of those things that is ultimately a big deciding factor. Like, I've said this a few times, like if you're it's not 10 o'clock yet. If you're a D-bag right? Like,
well, look, we can put an explicit rating on this show when we post the audio anyway.
I don't want to go that far yet. I haven't even had coffee yet. No, but if you're a douchebag, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier for everybody to make the decision to pull the trigger on you. Like if you've lost the locker room, then yeah, I mean that's just one of many factors that are going to go into the decision
Right.
to move on from you.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzalo Pineda is not a douchebag. I'm
No.
telling you that right now. I've said it a million times. Said it on my show. No matter what we look at, because I know that's where these questions are coming from, and I totally get it. I don't feel like he's lost the locker room.
Right.
I'm not the one in the locker room except for after matches, so I can't say with certainty. Like I don't know all that kind of ins and outs, but it does not appear that way. Gonzalo Pineda is not a dick. He hasn't come out and been like,
this player stinks. This player stinks. This player stinks.
This player,
yeah.
And his players haven't come out and said anything, really negative about him at all. I mean, there's the moment a couple of weeks ago where Yorgos Yakimakis was like, saying, hey, it's time to break some eggs or whatever he said, just, getting everybody ramped up a little bit, which is fine. I mean, that's as a leader in the locker room, that's what you're supposed to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I just, yes. So I guess the short answer is it might buy you a few matches, but that's not going to be something that's going to, save your job long term. If they like you, cool. If they don't like you, cool. But at the end of the day, I think most everybody would agree. I'll take a D-bag Jose Mourinho that's getting results over somebody that's not getting results, because that's what this is about. It's a business, and that's how
it is
like that.
It is a results-based business.
Yeah.
So you want 10 years ago Jose Mourinho is what you're looking for.
Why not? I mean, it'll make the press conferences a little interesting.
If I do not speak.
No,
I do not speak.
If I speak, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, if I speak, I'm in trouble. Three titles. Three. That's what you're hunting for. No, it's when what you're also doing with if you're Gonzalo Pineda is you are letting the entire soccer universe know who you are as a human being. Because, when you come in and you're a head coach someplace, you're setting your dossier forward for, 35 years later when you change jobs and change locations and go back to, whatever you want to go back to. If you go to Liga MX and take a gig there, you're setting the table for your reputation going forward as a head coach. And so, out of the blocks, if someone sits there and lets folks know that you are worse than an e-bag on a given day. If you look at the tank of bag, you've got F, you've got E, you've got then you've got D. And so he's not a full bag, he's not an E bag, he's not an empty bag, and he's not a D bag. Yep. So that's when you're looking at the tank of bag. That's what you're staring at. It's worse than E, then you're a D bag, and he's not that. And you're setting yourself, you're letting everybody else know who you are as an individual when it comes to coaching and coaching opportunities. So everybody knows what they're getting when you walk in the door.
Right. Because, I mean, you've just as I sit here and say, like, Gonzalo Pineda is a nice guy. He really is. Mm-hmm. He's a great person. That goes a long way after the fact. But also, maybe sometimes we call on him to maybe be a little harder, be a little more firm, whatever. But also you have to remember that these players are people too. Like these are people. And I mean, it's been a conversation that's gone back and forth, I think, a lot. And it goes on in every club in the world, mm-hmm. especially ones that have passionate fans, which is great. But like, no matter what happens in the future with Pineda, like the name calling and like the really like bad things people say, like that stuff can't happen. You can criticize a coach, you can criticize a team, you can criticize a club. Just be fair about it. If you don't feel like he's the right guy for the job, that's fine. That's an opinion, and that's totally valid. But at the end of the day, they're people. Mm-hmm. It would be a lot easier to say negative things about somebody if they were a D-bag.
Yeah.
But he's not. So you just, at the end of the day,
yeah,
this game, we all love it, and we all love it because it's everybody's game. Keep it keep it critical, but keep it nice. Keep it in a just way.
Yeah.
That's my public service announcement for the morning.
There you go. All right. So you're going to go into rest and rehab for the remainder of the week because you moved on a Tuesday on a holiday week. Man, it was a short work week to begin with, and then you decided to expand it by moving. So let's see. Today's rest and recovery. This is your regen day.
Yep.
Then Thursday, I imagine you're going to go back and watch last year's match.
Yep.
And you're gonna watch film, and you're gonna go out and apply it on Thursday to get you ready for the media match on Friday. I guess that's where, the rest of your week is headed.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. That equates to sitting around icing myself. And yeah, I might turn on last year and see what's up. I'll watch the tap in that I missed.
Yes. There you go. And watch Jarrett lose both of his shoes.
Yeah, not just lose both of his shoes.
Blow them out.
It completely explode them.
Yes. And so hopefully his shoes will last this year as well. What's going on at Scarves and Spikes?
We are gonna do a watch along tonight. I say quote watch along.
Yes.
Obviously we're not like playing the game to where everybody can watch it because that's illegal. We can't do that.
No. You're going to have simultaneous observations about a match that starts at 7:40 in South Florida.
That is it. Well, you're going to basically see us react in whatever way.
Oh,
yeah, it's going to go down. We're going to talk. We're going to have fun. We're gonna chill out. So no, we got that going on tonight. And then we'll be back doing the regular stuff again on Sunday, but we are doing a live show at the Signia Hotel at the Nest on 4 Bar this Sunday. So we have a few more dates lined up for that.
Okay.
But the first one is going to be this Sunday against Charlotte. So that game is like a
4:45
kickoff.
It's a big FOX game.
Yeah.
So they get the super hyper mega pregame show.
Yep. So that extra 18 minutes or whatever. So no, yeah, we'll kick that one off about 2:30 over at the hotel. It's free to go to, walk in, get you a drink, come hang out, and we will get you inside the bins in plenty of time to see John, you up on the Halo board, and to get your seats. Yeah, to get you all set up and situated. So no worries there.
It'll be fun. Tyler, as always, thanks for dropping by, especially as you recover from your move.
Yes, thank you.
And we will be seeing you on the watching alongs tonight, the simultaneous observations tonight, and we will be seeing you at the Benz this weekend, my friend. Thanks as always for coming on Wall Pass Wednesday.
Thank you.
All right, so there goes Tyler, and Tyler's going to go recover. He's going to throw himself into an ice bath now, let me go back and say hi to everybody because I don't think I got the chance to do that, and I know that we do have some observations. And let's see. Good morning, Abby. She's schwitzing down in South Florida. Morning, Hutch. Morning, Alex. Morning, Fourcard. Morning, Tom. Morning, OG. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Christopher. Let's see. Trying to see who else is in here. So let's see. So morning, Dell and Hutch and Emilio. Morning, ATL in Sports 5. I think this might be one of your first times here. So welcome. We're here every morning at 9:05. We believe in Turner time here at SDH. We go from 9:05 until like 11 whenever, and that's just how we go. Let's see. So morning, Dell. Morning, Alex. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that I missed. Morning, Christopher. And I'm going in time order for things posted on the Twitch pitch. Let's see. So Christopher and Dell and Emilio. This is like the Newsy review for those of you who were of a certain vintage. At the beginning of the show, every single day, they would spin the pinwheel or the big lollipop, and then they would sit there and say hi to everybody that was there in the room. And so what I always like to do is I always like to tip my hat to everybody who comes and drops by. Morning, Pars. Welcome. Tom, couple of things. I would disagree with the adjective that you used in the Twitch pitch about Gonzalo Pineda as a coach. And like I said, if we go down that road, I think there's going to have to be a time where you and I off air are going to just have to go to a restaurant and sit, because I disagree with your characterization, the adjective that you used in the Twitch pitch. And also but I will address stubbornness. When it comes to a system and a certain way, would you approve of whiplash when it comes to stylistics? Would you want things that way? It's like, well, you have a set way of playing, and then if it's not working, then do you whiplash your way into something else and then whiplash your way into a third and not have a set way of play? That would be my biggest question for you when it comes to stubbornness across the board. Let's see. Dell on the press conferences. Gonzalo is a very thoughtful man. And what he wants to do when he's taking notes, and this is my observation, he's a very three-dimensional thinker, and he wants to get the main points of your question on a piece of paper so he can address them. So it's not distraction on his part. He's looking at it from the perspective of, okay, I want to answer this question in depth, and I want to get the talking points all laid out so I can answer them that way. And so, no, the taking of notes is to fully understand the question, where it's coming from, and so he can answer it earnestly and honestly. So that's where Gonzalo's coming from when it comes to writing down all of his notes. It's 10 o'clock. We go to the busiest man in the Northeast. And you want to know why he's the busiest man in the Northeast? Is because he does like 98 different sports. Dylan Butler, good morning.
I thought I had it at 95, but
I mean,
I'll take your word for it.
You're like all over the place, man. I mean, you were doing what? You were lacrosse last time?
I was lacrossing last night as well. County championships. Yeah, so I think I actually I have a few. There's an event called the Long Island Lacrosse Showcase in late June, where it's like 3 games. It's like Nassau versus Suffolk at Hofstra. That's the finish line, but actually last night was the last high school games that I'm doing this school year. So,
well, I mean, they don't have like all-star games or anything.
Those games that I'm doing are more kind of like that. So, like the state championships are like June 9th. We don't have the rights to those. And FHS does.
Yeah, I heard of them.
But if they continue going along their path, I wonder how long they'll continue to have state rights.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What I have talked to folks about when it comes to that particular network is that you literally, as he breaks out, he's got his Eastern Conference. He's got his Eastern Conference Finals mug. He's rocking and rolling with that. What I tell folks when it comes to that particular network is that schools basically have to broadcast every event humanly possible with the kit that they give you as you agree to the advertising plan that they set forth just to break even. So literally, you've got to broadcast everything from one act play to all of your big revenue sports just to break even with the contract that you sign with that entity.
But then, if you're out our way, it's you got us, and obviously I'm biased to the product we put out.
I am too with mine down here. Yeah.
It's the consumer suffers in that
they do because of all of the fees that are attached to that particular network. And while, yes, there is certain value, I think, to getting the year pass from that network, I think it depends on where you are geographically as to what the value is and how much you can watch and what you can get from it. So there are a lot of ins and outs in the discussion with that particular network. And God bless Varsity Media for helping out folks up in the Northeast. So over the last handful of weeks, looking at things from 30,000 feet before we get into the midweek and the weekend that will be, once again, genuflecting to our gods of schedule compression. Who's hot, who's not, who are you worried about, who are you confident about, or are you pretty much just throwing it all up in the air? And if the butcher knife lands in the ceiling and sticks, it stays there. And if it falls back to the floor, then you got to launch it all over again. What's running through your mind from 30,000 feet?
Let's see. A couple thoughts. Just rapid fire type of, off the top of my head. NYCFC, right? The thought initially was, well, they've got a bunch of home games. They're tough to beat at home. They can get on a roll, and they did, and they've continued that roll now. I think it's 7 wins in their last 8 or 8 in their last 9.
Who is this Nick Cushing, and what have you done with Nick Cushing?
I'm hoping Supporter Shield is a race. I've been on record to say I don't think Miami are built for that, but
yeah.
But listen, if you do NBA type of things and rest guys and they don't go on trips and you still win on the road like they did, and Robert Taylor and does things like he did, I don't know. I might I might be wrong come November.
So is Tata Greg Popovich, is what you're saying?
It seems like it. And honestly, I mean, look, it's those decisions will be made for him, obviously, when Copa America starts and qualifiers and all those kind of things come around. He'll lose 2 of those 3 guys, right? So this was just sort of a way for Miami. I mean, look, he showed his guys, or his guys proved to him, right, that yeah, we can do it without the big names. And going to BC Place, that's an impressive win for them. There's no doubt. I mean, the Caps, that was an opportunity for them in front of a huge crowd to maybe prove they were an elite Western team. I don't think they are. I think they're like maybe the second tier there. But yeah, Miami, Cincinnati continues to be so impressive, right? Like, just to have the roster turnover that they've had as Shield champions a year ago, and yes, obviously they still got the best player not named Lionel Messi in MLS and Lucho Acosta, so he continues to do what he does. And yeah, they're right there again as Shield favorites, Shield contenders. That those are in the East, right? Like those are the teams that are certainly impressive. And listen, obviously Columbus, massive game.
Ooh.
You could argue the biggest. I don't think you have to argue it. It is the biggest in their club's history. Coming up, because a regional championship that you then go on and play in a Club World Cup, that's bigger than MLS Cup, right? So, but they've now also gotten 3 straight road wins, right? So they've picked up the wins while being ready and preparing for Pachuca and the Champions Cup. So that's impressive. Toronto as well. What an off the rails game they played against Cincinnati.
Yeah,
so much fun. But I think they've also proved that they're going to be in the mix, right? And again, hot takes are what they are. And I'll again raise my hand. I didn't think they were going to be a contender this year. I didn't think that John Herdman's like cheerleader, rah, go get him for the country kind of thing that worked for Canada was going to work for Toronto. But, the early return, not even early at this point, right? 15-game return has been very good. And he's also seemingly getting the best out of players who looked disinterested a year ago. So, that's super impressive as well. Staying on the positive side of things, I guess, Salt Lake, what a tremendous story they are as well. Minnesota, didn't expect that without Reynoso. LA and LAFC, I think, are proving again to be those teams that'll be in the mix. Rapids, they concede a lot of goals. They score a lot of goals. They're super entertaining, which you like as well. So, I think that's my long-winded, 9 or so minute answer to say.
We got catching up to do, man. Don't worry about the length.
Those are the teams, that I think right now heading into this match day 17.
Yeah, 17.
have impressed.
Have we talked about Jesse Marsh and the Canadian men's national team yet?
Just briefly, that I felt like it came out of nowhere. Good for Jesse. Was a free agent, obviously. Seriously looking forward to, if he can get those guys going. Let's say U.S. stumbles a little bit in Copa America, how even keeled U.S. soccer Twitter will be.
Yes,
will be.
So. Absolutely logical.
Yeah, 100%.
Are we still underrating Wilfred Nancy as a coach?
I don't know. I mean, I have him at the top of the list of MLS coaches. I think I voted for him last year for Coach of the Year. I think I might have voted for him the year before as well. I know he fell short, but yeah, listen, man, the guy, maybe he needs to win Champions Cup to finally get the respect that he deserves. But an incredible job that he's done with them. I saw it. I was impressed with what he did in Montreal, and now showing it with Columbus as well, and they are on the precipice. So will not be easy. But this whole road for them hasn't been right. They've done things that other teams haven't done before. Winning on the road, winning in Mexico. So what is his saying? The impossible nothing. I can't think of the Nancyism right now. It's not nothing is impossible, but he has a certain expression that he says. But the reality is they believe, right? So that's a more of a Ted Lasso thing, but
hey, it worked. It worked for them. They after they got relegated to the championship, they came back and almost won the Premier League in year 3 of the Ted Lasso administration. So then Tom Russo asks, Nancy is gone after this season, surely, right? Meaning going, I guess, to greener pastures, maybe going on the other side of the pond.
Yeah, he's said. I'm pretty sure that he said on record he would love to test his abilities there. So I don't know if it would be after this year, but I would listen. I think if they win Champions Cup and that brings about a pretty big scope of attention, obviously then that continues with him. He's got a European passport. All that helps him surely, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, right? Maybe like a Ligue 1 team or one of those kind of sides. But I think he would love to test those waters. Why not?
Then Emilio, your fellow New Yorker, is asking, what has Cushing done differently lately to get the turnaround?
I don't think he has. I think it's just this group kind of just playing together, right? Like it's a couple things. It's a very, very young team. And I just think I think the team needed time to play with each other, right? All the parts just needed to meld together. And obviously confidence is built when you win a few games, which they did at home. But I don't really think you're seeing a whole lot different. Nothing really tactically or like soccer nerdy that we can go into. I think it's just, it's kind of boring to say, but I think it is as simplistic as just give the guys time to play together, right? Like he hasn't really tinkered with the lineup. He hasn't tinkered with the formation. Like, this is how we play. These are the guys we're playing with. We're going to figure it out. And, when you get contributions from a few different players, especially scoring, which has been a struggle, obviously, over the last couple of years, that breeds confidence. And that's what I think you're seeing from these guys now.
And the follow-up from Emilio is, do the players like him? I think that if you look at the reaction from Bakrar after he scored,
yeah,
then I think that would be the microcosm of that the faith that Nick Cushing had in his players. And when it finally does pay off, the reaction from the players should give you the answer.
Yeah. And by the way, it's funny. I feel like we almost broke this on this show a month or two or so. Remember the first meeting with Toronto and NYCFC? We had talked about, and I know Tom Bogert tweeted it because he tweets everything. But Cushing, it was at Yankee Stadium, and Cushing was pushed coming off the field at halftime by a Toronto player.
Yes. Yes.
And I had said to you, I was like, how is there not a response here? Right? Like that this is your coach. Like, show some emotion here as a team. Well, lo and behold, that was shown obviously later in the season in Toronto, and we all know what happened there. So I think that whole thing started there at Yankee Stadium and carried over. But yes, I think you could see in moments like the goal celebration, but also in moments of some anger and maybe some revenge there. You could see it as well.
And there's talk in the Twitch pitch. Does Nancy stay if they win? Does he stay through Club World Cup? Does he continue to build his resume that way and prove that he can do it in a Club World Cup situation with an MLS team, or does he go ahead and jump? I guess that's the big question.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be determined. Obviously, we're not in his headspace. We're not sure what he's thinking. I don't know if he's meant to be in long-term projects. I just think that's just the way he is, right? Obviously, he started with Montreal and did his thing there, but then just quickly turned to Columbus and has won there. He's always looking for the next challenge. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised either way. But I don't think we're going to be saying in 5 years, like, hey, this is the 8th year or 7th year of Wilfried Nancy as the crew coach. That's not going to be a reality.
So Four Card is asking about the Triple C and wondering why Columbus is such a big dog in the final. And the numbers that I saw, let me see what they are as of this very second.
What is Spanish for juice box?
Well, we can find that out. Can somebody run Google Translate while I'm chasing after numbers here? So let's see. It would be North and Central America, CONCACAF Champions Cup. Pachuca, well, it's not too bad because the number was a lot larger earlier in the week. Pachuca's a minus 179 to win it in 90 minutes. 90-minute draws a plus 330, and Crew to win it outright's a plus 405. That's not bad. And they've certainly been up against worse, going up against Tigres and having to win there and doing the same against Monterrey. I think this Pachuca number, that's not all that insurmountable, if you want to call it something like that, considering what we've seen from Columbus. But the question was, why are they such a big dog? And it's, I guess, because of the specter of Liga MX and all this.
Well, it's also Pachuca. They're for a country where we always talk about the elevation. Theirs is significant.
Yeah.
So there's that factor, but I remember having this conversation with Jesse Marsh when he was a Red Bulls coach, and they were going to play Chivas in the semifinals of the Champions League at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, honestly, with when you're dealing with altitude, there's two schools of thought. You either get in early, like significantly early, and get acclimated that way.
Yeah.
Or you get into town super late.
Yeah.
There's no in between. Like if you do a regular travel, you're screwed. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. Because of you've got to be on the ground likely for match day -1 press conferences and things like that. And also Columbus doesn't have a league game tonight, obviously, or on the weekend. So Nancy could, if he decides, get in early.
Yeah.
Get his guys acclimated, which I think would be the right call in this situation.
So Tom Russo doing the Lord's work. Caja de Jugo.
There you go.
So it's, I guess, Cajas de Jugo, to the boxes of juice. So the Cajas de Jugo have a Pachuca to minus 179.
So somewhere in the internet, there are two guys like us, but in Mexico, having this conversation, talking about the Caja. What is it? The Caja de.
Well, I guess the plurals would be Cajas de Jugo.
Yes.
The Cajas
And
de
they're wondering, what is the Caja de Jugo in English?
Yes, it's juice boxes. That's exactly how this works. It's the bizarro world conversation, and all we're
Yes.
missing is Tim Kazurinsky with a square head. Then that's your Google reference for today, kids, and possibly a YouTube reference. Emilio sticking on to the NYCFC discussion, which is where I thought he was going when he was asking the questions about Cushing and the players. What do you think about what's going on with Atlanta United?
It's as they would say in Mexico, no bueno right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm parachuting in here, obviously from 30,000 feet. It's mind boggling. There doesn't. I don't know. Like you've heard some who have just wondered about the makeup of the midfield and positionally and I think it was Sasha Kleshkin on Season Pass who mentioned and like Dax McCarty can't be an everyday starter in the midfield, but when he's there now, the midfield unit operates a lot tidier than they have been, right? So it's bizarre. It's like early in the year, like, well, they got injuries, and you're like, all right, but now they don't have as many injuries.
But it's still in key places though with Gigi and Stian. So literally,
no, for sure,
the back, yeah.
But other teams have managed their injuries and have gotten results. So it's honestly like I don't know. I don't know what's going on with those guys. They should be significantly better than they are. That is certain. So,
well, and to your point about Dax, I think that when Dax was brought in, it was the same idea initially with Ozzy Alonso.
Yeah,
you're supposed to come in. You're going to be a spot starter. You come in every fifth day. You give me
great in the locker room.
Yeah, you give me 1 earned run surrendered over 6, and then we can turn it over to the bullpen and finish things out. And I think that that's what you're going to be getting with Bartosz Slisz on an excused absence. He had to travel to Europe, and so I don't think he's going to be back until the Euros are completed. So I think you're going to have the Dax McCarty, Jay Fortune combo flipping 60s and 30s or 70s and 20s until further notice, where Dax comes in and you get that veteran presence and he's directing traffic and he's that added voice that is, where Brad is your team captain. But if you have Dax in there, he's like that second level. He's like when you're playing telephone, he's the first guy that gets what is being said in his ear, and he gets to project it out to everybody else, and he gets to direct traffic and such. And so I think that, especially now with Slisz gone to Europe, my guess is that it's going to be some combination of Dax and Johnny Fortune, and going up against Messi and friends tonight.
Yeah.
Having Dax there as your 6 to help things out up against the firepower that's there, we'll see what it looks like. But I think having Dax as a part of the equation should help things out defensively.
I would agree with that, and I think just for overall positional play, I think he's very good for that as well.
Question from Dell was, what is the most let's see. What was the adjective that Dell used? The biggest game tonight. This is what Dell's question is. The biggest game tonight. And I'm guessing that you can take biggest as the key adjective here, and you can play it however you want, because biggest could mean most important. Biggest could mean the grande matchup. It's like you take your Rangers mug and you get like a double shot of espresso, or you double stack it. You go to Wawa and you double stack the matchup or whatever. You go to Dwayne Reed and maybe get a double shot. What is the biggest matchup for you tonight?
The supersized matchup. We will. I think it's the latest game tonight. Unfortunately, for those of us on the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, I think LAFC Minnesota. Listen, Minnesota has been one of those surprise, if not the biggest surprise team this year. Lud slotting into where Reynoso played. Them doing it without Reynoso, with under a new coach who came in late. The regime came in late. They've had injury, like so many things were stacked against them. They've played so well, and now they're going to LA to take on an LAFC team that seems to be rounding into form. And lo and behold, they're gonna get reinforcements in the summer as well, right? So I think this is a good litmus test for Minnesota, right? Are they elite? Are they second level in the West? I think we maybe will get some answers there tonight. That one to me is really big, the biggest I think of the games, and obviously whenever Messi and friends plays, a lot of intrigue there. So I think Miami Atlanta will be interesting at 7:30. Philly Toronto I think should be fun as well, because Toronto's playing so well. Philly are struggling, so. But yeah, I think certainly that last one is one that I look at. Maybe a little bit of Seattle, Salt Lake, maybe do a little split screen action there. But yeah, I think LAFC and Minnesota should be fun.
Okay. We've got, let's see, you mentioned Philly. Philly's a -164 at home, hosting Toronto, who's a +415 on the road, which is intriguing to me. That number just seems astronomical considering what we've seen from both of these clubs. And I think that Semley is going to be in net as opposed to Andre Blake. I think Andre is still trying to recover from injury/surgery. You mentioned Seattle. Seattle's a +102. So they're favored, but they're still on the plus side. So you can get a plus number there. RSL on the road's a +245. LAFC, to answer your question about going up against Eric Ramsey, a -204 at home, hosting Minnesota United. Minnesota United is a +479 in the Cajas de Juego. That is a huge number for a team that has turned itself around with a 32-year-old head coach.
And they've won a lot of road games.
Yeah. Minnesota, let's see. So as I scan down, yeah, they're 4-1-1 away from home.
Yeah.
That is the most wins away from home in the Western Conference, and it is third in Major League Soccer behind Cincinnati, who is 6-1-1 away from home, and Messi and friends, who are 5-1-2 away from home. I'm intrigued with that, and so there's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to the excitement on the road, and it seems like, once again, you still have. The difficulties are there, but the creme de la creme are finding ways to win on the road and win a lot of times on the road so far at this point of the season, as we are in the back stretch after turn 1 of the tricky triangle, heading toward turn 2 at Pocono.
Yeah, I mean, we're 15 games in. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we're almost to turn 2 of the tricky triangle. We're on that back stretch, and we're kind of getting there.
But I guess when Leagues Cup comes in, is that then everyone just has, like, there was a crash or something, so everyone's has to go into their pit?
Yes,
areas?
yeah. That is the mandatory the mandatory pit stop. Everybody, the flag stand sits there and goes, okay, it is the competition caution. Leagues Cup is the competition caution, and the guy sits there and waves at it. There was a question that was raised about the activity that you have behind you, what you have hanging behind you, sir.
All right.
And they wanted to know what your favorite club was in the Premier League, and I said it was Newcastle. Apparently, Newcastle are confirming that Matt Ritchie, Paul Dummett, Loris Karius, Jeff Hendrick, and Kel Watts will all be leaving the club when their contracts expire this summer. How, sir, are you handling the news about having to juggle both PSR and player exits and folks wanting Alexander Isak? Inquiring minds want to know. Heavy sigh. Here it comes.
I feel like we were just and again, I blame Mike Ashley, I think, because if we had this ownership maybe just a year or two earlier, I think we'd be fine. I think we would be contending in the Champions League. We'd be top 4 in the Premier League, like a City and others who have managed this or who have been able to or allowed to manage it, I guess, without repercussions. So,
And then Sandro Tonali.
yep. It's listen. It's not champagne problems, obviously, but they sure beat the hell out of wondering, will we parachute back up out of the championship after we've been relegated? So we'll deal with these problems and move on. But they just are what they are, I guess. I don't know. It's life as a Newcastle fan.
Yes, life as a Newcastle fan. What is going on in the world of at Dylan_Butler on the Twitters and life otherwise?
Yeah, like I said, a bit of a break from the varsity media broadcast, do your charts, make calls with coaches life, which is nice, especially now with like these double game weeks, right? So it'll be a busy one tonight. Obviously a busy one on Saturday as well. Coach Butler has got a doubleheader Sunday morning.
Oh, wow.
With the U6 Breakers, who, by the way, should have probably led with this, but I do wonder if my coaching career is in jeopardy here. So we had a game against the Blitz, a team we've lost to before this season, last Sunday. I was not there. I couldn't be there. We were at my sister-in-law's wedding.
Okay.
Sunday. So obviously my daughter wasn't there either. The other coach, Coach Jenny, had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
I think it might have been like kidney stones.
Wow.
So both coaches were out. One of the parents volunteered to coach. We get a text later. We won our first game of the year. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we're out. Maybe you've got the secret formula here.
Oh, wow.
So we have the unfortunate U6 doubleheader coming up this week, but we do have the Blitz first, so maybe we can get that W in the first game. Maybe take an L in the second one, but split the two. That'd be nice.
Okay.
But maybe it is the coaches. Maybe Coach Butler. Maybe I'm on the hot seat as well.
Yeah. So do you have to write an article for MLSsoccer.com tonight? Della's asking out of Charleston.
I don't know what my assignment might be. I know I will be editing. I've also fallen into the role of like editing goal videos. So if you see a mistake on those, probably it's me.
Okay.
But yeah, not sure what the assignment is tonight yet. We will go with it.
All right, we will keep an eye on things. As always, my friend, I know it's going to be a hot Eastern Conference final with you and the Panthers from Florida. So raise your mug, and we know that there's going to be some late nights going forward. I think it's a best of 3 now, right?
It is, but 2 games at the Garden.
Okay, 2 games at the Garden. There you go. Okay, so it's all good. So we will see you soon, my friend. Enjoy, get your rest, and we will follow your coaching career as it continues to track upwardly when it comes to the UC.
Continues to go off the rails, yes.
Yes. Be well, my friend. We'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right, that's Dylan, and we bring in Jarrett. Hot tag. So, Jarrett, it's been a fun morning. We've been standard Walpassian Wednesday all over the place, and Jason's set to join us in about 5 minutes so we can discuss things with Jason as well. First off, we started about discussing things in Greenland and hoping that they are approved post haste into CONCACAF.
Yeah, apologies in advance. Somebody's filling a pool in the house next door, so if there's background noise, it's because someone's filling a pool.
It sounded like somebody's chasing through 3rd and 4th gear behind you more than anything else.
Yeah, well, there's that too. There's somebody who lives in the neighborhood who does not know how to shift correctly, and they like everyone to know about it. Yeah, man, like Greenland, do it. I fully expect CONCACAF to I hope they come in. I hope we get Greenland. We just make CONCACAF even more CONCACAF, but also to try and build up that federation. So let's give them a shot here. Even if they're like, there's a lot of countries in CONCACAF that we don't think about that are not, the big name like the big name countries, and Greenland probably slot into those. Like not a big one. It'll just be funny when everyone has to go to Greenland for a qualifier,
It'd be awesome.
even in the summer,
That'd be
which you could play the game at 9 p.m.
Yes.
You could play the game at 10 p.m. It'll still be bright outside. If you've never been high on the earth during the summer, it's a jarring experience.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend it. I was in Denmark, God, like 2015, 2016, I was in Denmark in the summer, and like the sun didn't really set till like after 11 p.m. Like even like I think it was like 10 o'clock or so, we like walked out of the train station, and like you could have still gone out and played pickup. So highly recommend visiting a place like that that's high up on the globe, where you get those weird solar phenomenons or lunar phenomenons in the winter, which sound frankly just depressing to begin with.
Yep.
But yeah, man, let them in. Have some fun with this. Let's hopefully they won't shoot them down for no good reason.
Well, I mean, I've already called for a remote from Nuuk and the stadium when whomever goes up there for the CONCACAF Nations League Group D setup would go and take on Greenland. What is it? The polar bears? The frozen polar bears or whatever? What is the glorious nickname of our
Efforting, in the words of the polar teddy bears.
Polar teddy bears.
Yeah. That's a decision.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, man. And to Dell's question, that's the short answer is no. The long answer is I've been bantering. I've been trying to write something for 3 days about just the mentality and state of this club, because like to put it into words, what I've been trying to write is because I know people got upset at people were getting like upset with Felipe's clip yesterday, which I didn't think there was anything wrong with. He made an observation. I know people have different opinions about the Athletic. That's fine. He made an observation that they were loose at training, and we talked about this, John. That like you have to find a way to stay loose, even in a skit. You can't. And I know I don't know what people want. I guess people want them to be stone-faced and angry and like down in the dumps. I don't. Though I generally write on soccer down here, I just don't do it as often as I need to or as I want to, because life keeps getting in the way.
Damn it.
But usually a lot of like dumb off-season things, like where I ranked the most drunk games in Atlanta United history, the most important goals in history. I did a thing last year for every game Atlanta has ever played with San Jose has been a drunken, sloppy mess, and I reviewed each of them because they're all special in their own way. They are all each my children, and I love them all in their own special way.
Yes.
But my thing being, I guess people want them to be more stone-faced and down to the dumps, but in the middle of a slide like that, you can't be.
Yeah.
Once you get into that, well, I guess we suck. It's that much harder to get out of it. Professional athletes, they talked about it after the LAFC game that it's all of them have been on teams that have been through slumps like that. I don't think anyone gets that far in a professional athletic experience without going through something like that. Or if you do, count your blessings.
Yeah.
Because you have to find the good in things. You have to find what you can to lean on. And that means that you're not going to be, feeding into the any negative feedback loop, because, you leave that for social media and people on the internet will do that. And Gonzalo Pineda talked about it in the article Felipe wrote, that, I think he said, yeah, when things aren't going well, people are going to call for your job. It's just, he was very matter of fact about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a perfectly fine take to have on it. Again, that's a cause and effect situation, man. But guys are not just going to decide to be sad and grumpy and then lay down. You have to find something to grab onto to try and pull yourself up. It might not happen right away, and clearly it hasn't happened for this club right away. They haven't pulled themselves right up. I thought overall the performances have been better. Like Nashville was better.
Yeah.
Charleston was weird. because it's rotated. It's Open Cup. You kind of throw out the records with Open Cup because Open Cup exists where like 8 dimensions exist and gravity doesn't work the same way.
Correct.
And then LAFC, everybody looked tired in that game because both teams had played in the middle of the week, and like it didn't look as mentally sharp. And you lose the game on a deflected free kick that your backup keeper still almost gets to. So, yeah, you have to find some sort of positive. You have to find something you can cling to and that you can try and build with. Because while it's easy for us to sit here and be negative about everything, and I guess that's what people want, is they want them to be angry. I don't know how you show anger in training. This is, again, it's not an NFL training camp. It's not like they can hit a tackling sled harder.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want them to show that, but they have to keep a level head and they have to keep some sort of optimism going forward, because as soon as you just buy into all that, what are you doing out there in the first place?
Yeah. Just because someone may not give the air of a serious look on their face doesn't mean that they're not. And this is like 9 negatives in a row.
Jones, Andrew.
Yeah. Just because you don't have a serious look on your face doesn't mean you're not taking something seriously, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it's just tough. Because it's going to be tough on them to figure out how they can try and take their way out of it.
Yep.
Hey, like I kind of bantered around the idea of like, look, yeah, you want a managerial change, you might get one. The likelihood goes up when the results don't turn.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the players are the ones that have to go out there on the field and find that positivity and find something to cling to and find something to build off of, because there's no other way you're going to dig out of it. You have to keep running. You have to keep trusting your abilities as a player. You have to keep doing what you know. We shift sports for a second. Somebody gets into a horrific slump in baseball. Yeah. You don't change your stance. You don't change your swing entirely. You trust what got you there. You might make minor adjustments. You might be a little more pragmatic. You might decide, I'm going to shorten up a bit, and because it feels like every time I get up there, I'm going to 0-2 count. But you don't radically change every single thing you do, because you have to trust in what got you to where you are. You have to. If you start radically making changes, I think it's really easy to lose yourself. And you have to keep the mentality that, okay, this is the one we break it in. And you have to go into this game as this is the one. You have to go into it, I think, with this is the one where we turn it around. And what better way to do it than in Miami? Because it would be just absolutely MLS as hell to, hey, we've been struggling. What happened? Oh, we went to Miami and found 3 points. How the hell did you do that? We trusted you got you here, and sometimes things just click for you in a weird way. Ish happens, man.
Yep. And now we go to South Florida and catch up with part of the broadcast team that's going to be there tonight. Jason, what is up, my friend? How was breakfast?
What's going on, y'all? It was nice. It is not too hot yet down here in South Florida. Give it time.
Yeah.
But no, weather's beautiful. Getting ready for another match day.
All right. When you look at Messi and friends coming into this one, a lot of Messi and his friends did not make the trip to Vancouver. They ended up with full points anyway, where you have Robert Taylor getting on the score sheet. When you've had to get studying on this group, which now looks like it's going to have more of Messi and friends involved, possibly, if you listen to what Tata said yesterday, with all caps coming up around the corner. What are you anticipating tonight from Inter Miami?
They're good. I mean, just flat out, this is a good team. And when they're clicking on all cylinders, they're as good as anybody this league has maybe ever seen. The problem is when you have a team with this kind of age, you're not able to hit on all cylinders all the time.
Right.
And it's just impossible. So you got to pick your spots. Very smart to miss out on the longest road trip in the league from Miami to Vancouver. Skip that one, stay home, be a mascot for the academy games at the stadium, and chill out and rest.
Yeah.
You have to do that at certain points. So then the flip side is you have to take advantage when you do that. and they did on the road in Vancouver. And now you've got some fresher legs at home for this one against Atlanta United. And we've seen it in these games for Atlanta United as of late. You've got to get control of the match, and that's the hardest thing to do in the way that I think this league is going, the way the game is going. It's hard to get control of games. More and more teams are going into transitional style games. Miami is a little bit of an old school team in that they seek control. I think Atlanta seeks control. They try to do it in some different ways. You have to get control, especially on the road against Miami. You got to get them chasing you. You've got to get them running after getting the ball back. That's not what they want to do. It's not what they're built to do. You've got to make them do those things. And Atlanta's going to have some patience at times with the ball tonight to make Miami uncomfortable.
Jarrett, go for it.
I was actually going to ask you about that, about being able to control a game against Miami and make them uncomfortable where they don't have control of it. I think one of the things we saw this last week, Jason, was a team that was kind of sloppy at times with their passing, whether that's just physical and mental exhaustion from a really busy week or what. How do you overcome that as a player to be more crisp on the ball? Because you just can't have those middle third turnovers. We talk about turnover placement on the field for turnovers. Like, you try things deep in the attacking third, that's fine. You just can't have those middle third turnovers or defensive turnovers. How do you clean that up if you're a player?
You just have to focus. It's easy to say and it's hard to do, because when you're tired, when you are feeling the effects of pressure, when you're feeling the effects of recovering from injury, when you're feeling those things, it's hard to focus. And I think a lot of times when we talk about focus in this game, it's people maybe misunderstand it, and you think about, oh well, if they're not focusing, then they don't really care, or they're not playing hard enough, or they don't want to win. No, that's not what I'm talking about. We're getting into the fine margins of elite athletes here. Players are locked in. Players are focused on the task at hand, but every single action in a match, whether it is controlling a pass from a teammate, whether it is then looking at your options in front of you and making a decision, it is then not just making a pass to a teammate, but passing it in the right way to them, on the right foot, into the right space, with the right amount of weight on that pass, where you're not 100% in a variety of ways, whether it's fatigue, whether it's mental fatigue, whether it's stress, whatever. You're not going to make those kinds of plays proper. Yeah, you can connect a pass, but can you connect a pass to give your teammate that opportunity to actually do something with it? Or can you connect that longer pass that is a 65% completed pass? Can you complete that when you're not at your sharpest? Sometimes you can't, and it's tough. And that's where this team is right now, is where you're getting into these finer margins of being able to handle those sorts of moments. Against a team like Miami, I think the good thing with a somewhat tired team, now you're starting to get guys back, and that's very, very helpful. And you've got guys who can play more minutes tonight, which will help you a ton. You'll have more options. I think the lineup Saturday kind of picked itself because of who could start and who couldn't start. So you've got some more options here. But the good thing about playing Miami is they're not exactly going to push the pace on you. They're not going to play incredibly fast. Now, I think a lot of people misunderstand that when it comes to someone like Messi. Oh, he walks around. Oh, he doesn't run very much, that kind of nonsense. He's thinking faster than anybody who's maybe ever played the game. So he makes up for it. He can make plays quickly. But in terms of a pace of play from a team, Miami's not going to get you in a track meet. That's not where they want to be. So every play has a little more meaning. You're not going to get through it on speed. You're not going to get through it on, just physicality. You're going to get through it by being locked in, whether it's on the ball, keeping it when you need to, looking and seeing those options when they are available, especially with somebody like Jordi Alba, who loves to get forward. Um, that means there's space behind him. And when that time comes to play quicker and be connected on that kind of a ball down the right side behind his back, that can stretch things out. When you can get a 2v1 on Sergio Busquets, when you can press Sergio Busquets, when you can prevent him from receiving the ball out of the back, all these little things, that's what it takes against a team like Miami. So, I wish, Jared, I had like something to tell you to say, like, oh, well, if they do this, then they'll be more locked in and they'll be, sharper in all these moments. It's just down to willing yourself through it and managing the pace of everything. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. And I don't think Miami's the kind of team that the pace is going to overwhelm you. The pressure can. The worry of I can't make a mistake against this guy who's maybe the best to ever play this game, that kind of stuff, that can affect you. You have to just lock in and focus on every single action on the ball and off the ball.
When it comes to ins and outs and folks getting back to full song, Gigi getting closer and closer, Derek getting hopefully more and more minutes. You don't have Bartosz Slisz. What are you anticipating, I guess, in combination with tonight and with Charlotte on the weekend? What are you looking at when it comes to the starting lineups and who might be getting minutes and added minutes and things like that?
You can't think about Sunday right now. Sunday is on Sunday. It's Wednesday, and all you can worry about is what you have here, and then you start to assess what you can have for Sunday. You can't even have that in your consideration tonight. So tonight, when you start to look at availability, Yorgos isn't going to be in a position to start. You would know that. Like, can he give you something off the bench? Sounds like it. Can't imagine it's very much. Almada, how deep can he go? He played 30 plus on Saturday. Can he start? Can he get you to 60? And I think this is always the thing where I kind of draw the line, and everybody does it differently. I think if you can get to 60 minutes, then you can start, because you're never quite sure of these calculations. And if somebody you think 45 is the max, and you start them and they can't get to 45, you've burned a first half sub.
Yeah.
If you think they can get to 60 and you're pretty sure of that, and they can only get to halftime, okay, you can manage that more easily. So 60 minutes available is kind of the line in being in contention to start. And even then, it's a risk. Thiago's getting close to that. Gregerson is past that. He should be close to 90 at this point. He was cramping up at the end of the game against LAFC, but no injury concern. Derek Williams, can he get you to 60? You're probably into that. Like, him and Thiago are probably into that kind of a conversation of, can they start? Do they have to come off the bench? Could they play 45 off the bench? That kind of calculation. You'd assume it's Dax McCarty for Bartosz Slisz. That's, I think, what most people are thinking there. No surprise. He's fresh after not playing on the weekend. So it doesn't completely pick itself. I think LAFC, like, I don't really think you had many other options in that lineup with what you could have started differently. With this one, I think you do have a few different options, but not many more, to be perfectly honest. So what it turns into, we're just going to have to wait and see how you approach this one. But getting a few extra guys back, I think getting Stian back has had an absolute impact. I think getting Derek back will have a huge impact. Obviously, Thiago, we all know that one. Obviously, Yorgos, we all know that one. But Stian and Derek, I think, are a little harder to quantify, a little more of how they affect the personality of the group, and in a very positive way. So I think you want those guys on the field as much as you can, especially together if you can get it. But you want at least one of them on the field as much as possible tonight. I think they're essential.
Jarrett, for Jason down in South Florida, getting ready for Messi and friends in Atlanta United.
Yeah, I guess looking at the way you talked about to kind of deal with them and making those 60% passes, and somebody mentioned making them run. How important is it for you if you're able to, what we saw, what you did against them last year, and I realize Messi wasn't here. I really don't give a damn, to be honest. When you beat them at home last year, where you were able to hit switches and really make them run and stretch them out, it feels like you've struggled to get in those positions, building out to get into spots where you can overload one side of the field and then create, either numerical or skill advantages on the other side. How important is it tonight, though, if you're able to do that and be able to hit those switches and get Miami stretching, get Miami running, and really, honestly, kind of frustrated?
It's combinations. I think you're looking for the right combinations on the field to be able to do that. I think somebody like Dax McCarty is very important in a game like that. When you look at his ability on the ball and I think his feel of the game, he's such a good feel player. He's the kind of, I don't know, and you guys will probably have a different interpretation of it than I would here, but I always think of him as that like rhythm guitar player in a jam band where he's not always going to be the guy that you notice. He's not going to take a solo, but he's the one that keeps the groove but can also change it. Not the highlight reel stuff, but he's the one who, all right, you're building up on the left side, there's nothing there, connect to him and he'll open up the right. He's the one that will, all right, we've been playing at a slower tempo because that's what we've needed to do in these moments of the game. Now we can speed it up because there's an opportunity. He's that kind of a guy. Different feel than Sleesh, for example. I think Sleesh is a little more similar tempo, very impactful. McCarty's a little more of a guy who I think can change what you do with the ball. And you're going to need to do that tonight. You're going to need to change tempos a good bit against this team. So you mentioned the switches, Jarrett, and I think that's something you have to look for. You have to get your fullbacks forward. You have to get Wiley and Lennon forward. You have to, especially when, and more so from Jordi Alba getting forward, you have to attack behind his back. You have to get numbers flooded into Busquets' zone, which will make the midfielders have to drop back and help him. You have to take advantage of those kinds of situations. And then it's down to execution. And I think you go back to that game at the Benz last year, the execution in that was clinical. You've got to be there again. You've got to, you can do all the right things. You can change the point of attack. You can switch from the left to the right, the right to the left. You can slow it down and speed it up. You can get in behind Jordi Alba. You can double team Busquets. You can do all those things that you have to do, and that this team, in various ways against different opponents, has done. But you got to execute. You got to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's everything that has been lacking as of late with this group is the execution in the final third, the execution in the attacking 18. You get that tonight, then we're having a very different conversation at the end of this. If you don't, you can do all those other things correctly, and you do kind of have to expect that at some point Luis Suarez is going to be clinical inside the 18. Lionel Messi is going to be clinical in a moment where he needs to. You have to execute and convert, and that's been the missing element for this group.
How would you characterize the differences between Josh Cohen and Brad Guzan, whether it's vocal, physical, mannerisms? How would you say, how are they similar and how are they different?
I think physical, they're pretty different. Brad's probably a little more imposing, just size. The difference is going to be an issue. Does it come into play when we're talking about crosses, for example? Maybe a little bit, maybe a little of the feel of crosses are going to be different. I think Cohen does a good job in commanding his 18-yard box, but he's just not the same size. So there's an element to difference there. I think Cohen is very comfortable with the ball at his feet, so nothing changes with that. I think his distribution is excellent. So no worries with anything in terms of build up having to be different or not being at the level that you needed at. I think the communication is different. Early on, it was something that jumped out to me, and probably more so from Brad's perspective as opposed to Cohen's perspective. Gazan is commanding with his voice. He's very loud. He's very vocal. He's very communicative. Cohen is not at that same level of communication, that same level of volume, those kinds of things. And when you get used to hearing one guy consistently, it can take a second. And I think we saw a collision right after Cohen came in at the bends where I don't think it was the same kind of communication. Now, that being said, I think with Cohen getting games, two with Atlanta United, two at the Open Cup, and then the cameo of sorts in Saturday's game, his communication, and that's a two-way street. It's not just Josh yelling. Like it's got to be the communication from both sides. I think there's a better understanding than there was earlier in the year. I think he's more comfortable. I think he's playing with a ton of confidence right now. I mean, he's played in 4 games this season, and he has not conceded a goal in those games that he started. In the game against LAFC, it's a deflection. There's nothing he can do. Anybody who tries to point that at Cohen is completely being ridiculous. It takes a wicked deflection, and he still gets a hand to it. That's the only goal he's conceded on the field this season. He is coming into this with confidence. So, if you're Josh Cohen, I think he's the kind of goalkeeper who would like to make a decent save early, would like to get some touches early, just to get into the flow of it. But the communication is the thing that he can't be somebody he's not, but he's got to create that link with the back line in front of him in terms of communication to make sure that what he's seeing, they're handling. And with somebody like Luis Suarez, where you're not talking about big movements, you're talking about little movements inside the 18. He's so good at finding a sliver of space inside the attacking 18. Cohen's communication is going to be key in making sure that guys know when he gets behind their back or gets 2 steps away from their shoulder, that kind of stuff. Cohen's communication is going to be very, very important, and the defenders recognizing that communication and hearing it and reacting in kind is going to be essential to tonight's result.
Jarrett, go for
it. If you are giving the talk into this game, what is that conversation like with a guy like Thiago Almada, who is going up against, the man in his country, who we've joked about? It feels like Almada's been hanging around with him, the way he takes penalties, the way he acts, the way he moves. It seems like he has been taking a lot of notes from Leo. How do you have that conversation with him about, hey, don't be afraid of it, but also don't go too wild?
Be yourself. I think the biggest thing is you have to be yourself in moments like this. Thiago's a different player than Messi, even though they both are of that classic Argentine number 10 lineage, which is a very storied lineage, obviously, and there's a lot of variety in it. It's not all the same. Messi doesn't play like Maradona did, and Ortega did it very differently. Aymar did it very differently. Like all the Argentine 10s, Riquelme, like we can go through all of them. And there's similarities in the sense of the position, what it takes, what you're trying to accomplish. But the way you get there is very different. Thiago loves dropping deeper to get on the ball. It brings him to life in the game. At times he does it a little too much. I think at times this season when things have gotten difficult, he's dropped too deep. I'm not someone who has an issue with Thiago dropping in to get some touches. I think it's where you do it and how you do it that's the key. But you've got to just stress that this isn't the World Cup final. This isn't the ultimate showdown. It's not Almada versus Messi. It's Atlanta versus Miami. And you want him to be himself and do what he does well, which does include some of those moments where he's getting those touches in the middle third, kind of in the front of the defensive third at times. He's mobile. He can get around the field. He can do what he needs to do, but you want it to be in the construct of what the team is trying to accomplish for the night. You don't want Thiago to feel the pressure of, I've got to outplay Messi in this game. And look, it happens, especially with young guys where you're facing either heroes or, legends of the game, like personal heroes or just legends. You always see the young guy try to play at the level of the great. And that's fine. That part is fine in that context. But you can't try to do too much to get there. I think when we talk basketball, for example, yeah, it can be a little more of the individual performance in those moments. In this one, it can't be because it's too big of a space. There's too many other people involved. It can't be a one-on-one showdown. It's got to be about how you do what you do to the best of your ability within the game model that you have established for the night. And you've got to do that to get the ultimate result in this one, because that's what it comes down to. You don't win anything if you're the better player on the night than the guy in the similar position on the other field. And by the way, there's no in terms of that, there's no guarantee that Messi plays as a 10 tonight. Tata Martino's used him as a winger who cuts inside a good bit. He's used him as a second forward, depending on their lineup. They're not really married to a very specific formation. So, it's not about matching up with the guy playing your position on the other side. It's about how you help your team get the ultimate result. And for Thiago, you just don't want it to be, you don't want to buy into that hype of like, he's got to outplay Messi. No, he's got to be himself. And he's got to be himself in the context of the way Atlanta wants to play.
Broadcast plans for tonight, sir, are what?
6:30, Five Stripes Countdown, and that'll be Abe Gordon and Garrett Chapman. You'll hear from Mike and I and Garth Lagerway in, I think, about the 6:55 break portion of the show, and then we're live at 7:40 with kickoff from Fort Lauderdale. Full-time report will follow. You'll hear from everybody afterwards, and I'm glad. This is the only time I'm glad that we are in a stadium that does not have open windows. I don't like that in general. I like to have a feel for the crowd, but it can get a little hot down here and air conditioning is nice. It could also get a little muggy down here and air conditioning is nice.
Yes. And it could also get a little rainy, and if the rain blows a certain direction and you've got open windows or just an open press box, you're in trouble with your notes.
Oh, that stuff can get handled. That's the easiest portion of it.
But looking forward to the broadcast, my friend. Enjoy your ceviche and everything else that you're going to pack up. And
I'm not packing ceviche. What in the world are you talking about, John? Do you know what ceviche is?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think you do, and you're telling me I'm going to pack it up and bring it back.
Well, unless, is there something that you want to pack up and bring home that you can pick up down there in South Florida?
I'm not going to the tourist area to buy stuff.
Get the $9. I went to Fort Lauderdale and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
No, I'm gonna skip that one.
So I figured.
You're gonna eat some ceviche too on camera because I need to see this.
Well, like I said, when it happened in San Jose, Costa Rica, it was literally a moment of sour face and then pushing the plate over and swapping it out with the boss so she could finish it. She's a fan. I was not. I know that,
Jared, I'm going to leave it to you to argue with John about this.
All right. So be good, my friend. We'll see you later.
Adios.
That's Jason. So Jason's going to pack ceviche in a plastic bag, and he's just going to bring it north. A couple of other news and notes before we go. Bayern Munich has confirmed Vincent Kompany. It's a deal to 2027. Caleb Wiley, a part of the crew that has been called up for the men's U23s, as I get the release, the pre-Olympic training camp from June 3 to 11. Caleb Wiley is a part of that. Schulte, Slanina in net, Harriel, Jalen Neal, Brian Reynolds, John Tolkien, Jonathan Tompkinson from Norwich City, Caleb Wiley, Walker Zimmerman have been called up. Cole Bassett, Busio, Kramoski, McGlynn, Morris, Puxtas, Tanner Tessman in the midfield, Paxton Aronson, Byruck Terovich, Taylor Booth, Cade Cowell, Damian Downs, who plays at Cologne, Johan Gomez from Eintracht Braunschweig, Duncan McGuire, Kevin Paredes, and Griffin Yao. So that is the group that has been called up for a camp in Kansas City from the 3rd to the 11th. It caps a friendly against Japan June 11th, at Children's Mercy Park. So those notes are there as well. I don't know, Dell, I don't know if Jason can get a new hat down in South Florida. I don't know if that's going to play. Juice boxes for across the board. Jarrett, quickly. Literally, we can play cliffhanger if you want, or you can just give me the one-word answers. 7:30 is when our buddy Kevin Egan is getting very, very busy at MLS 360. CF Montreal, DC United. CF Montreal's a plus 169. DC United's a plus 150. Draws a plus 256. What do you think?
DC.
Okay. Cincinnati hosting Nashville at a minus 143. Do I need to go any further?
No. Stop.
We'll leave. We talked about Inter Miami and Atlanta United. Red Bulls at a minus 164 hosting Charlotte.
0-0 draw. Charlotte doesn't give up goals, but they also don't really score a ton.
Yes.
Okay, aside from the occasional golazo.
Yes.
Like, again, Dean Smith has them really well organized. They can't score consistently. Also, Karol Swiderski might be coming back.
Yeah, they
sounds like
the $6 million option to buy him. They're like, no.
Like Hellas Verona said no.
Yep. Hellas Verona said Hellas no. Philadelphia, Toronto. Philadelphia is a minus 164. Toronto's a plus 415. Draws a plus 319.
Suffering and draw.
8:30. Austin hosting Portland at a plus 112. Portland's a plus 233. Draws a plus 257.
Not Portland.
Okay. Draw. Draw probably. Fire hosting Purple Team. Fire's a plus 162. Well, and the thing is, the Cajas de Fuego, they're like, nope, we don't care. They pretty much having the same number to win either side in the composite. Draws a plus 244. Hell in a Shell hosting Colorado. Houston a plus 104. Draws a plus 266. Colorado a plus 244 to win.
Colorado, again, just give them time to figure it out. Give them more than 6 months, because that seems to be what everybody does every year. Colorado decides to try and change things. Everybody decides after 5 months that everything should be torn down and destroyed because we are a destructive species and we're embarrassing ourselves daily. Whereas they actually seem to have a plan now. So let Chris Armas cook for a year. See what happens. Maybe 2 years. See what happens. What do you got to lose?
Yep. Sporting hosting Vancouver at a plus 127. Vancouver's a plus 204. Draws a plus.
Did I stutter?
No, I'm just saying that you'd be getting more juice boxes out of the deal.
As much as you think there's pressure on here, the pressure on Peter Vermes is ratcheting the absolute hell up, because he's also the general manager in Kansas City.
Can you fire yourself, have yourself in the office, and have the two-sided conversation running around the desk? 10:30, LAG hosting FC Dallas at a minus 204. FCD's a plus 500.
No.
And it looks like Toyota Stadium could be having up to 9 figures to the left of the decimal place in upgrades, according to our friends at the Dallas Morning News. Seattle hosting RSL at a plus 102. We mentioned that one. RSL's a plus 244. Draws a plus 272.
RSL.
And then LAFC hosting Minnesota United at a minus 204. Draws a plus 376. Minnesota's a plus 480.
Minnesota.
Ooh, taking the plus 480. All right. Let's see. What else do we have going on tonight? I think Dell mentioned that he's got a late night. 2 matches in USL Championship. Lou City hosting Le Rouge at a minus 233. Monterey Bay at a plus 312 hosting Charleston. The Battery are a minus 128. And so Battery on the road at a minus 128. So that's an interesting pickup. So we'll keep an eye on that one as we go. Brad Gazan gets fined by Disco, an undisclosed amount for failing to leave the field in a timely manner in the 60th minute after he got his red. He was kind of wearing the captain's armband. And then Edward Atuesta was fined an undisclosed amount for failing to leave the field in a timely manner in the 81st minute after he got his second yellow and was told to head to the tunnel. Those are the same.
Well, but we don't know the amounts because MLS believes that everything should be held in silence. So we don't know the amounts.
No, we don't. That is absolutely true. Welcome, Anwar. Yes, that is part of the viewing habits for today. BN has Copa Libertadores at 6 and 8:30. Gremio and the Strongest at 6. Fluminense Alianza Lima at 8:30. Simulcast on Espanol. If you don't have BN, Nuestra Tele, TIC for the fans, Gold TV, Liga 1 Max. You can get it at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the network, helps them out, helps us out. and turns you into more of a degenerate. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. Monterey Bay and Charleston is on CBS Sports Network at 10 o'clock. FS1 has Austin and Portland at 8:30. LAFC and Minnesota United at 10:45. Fox Deportes is simulcasting Europa Conference League final, thanks to our friend Anwar, reminding us Olympiacos and Fiorentina is at 3. It is Apple TV and Season Pass with all of the matchups that are going on. Quickly, let me see what is where so I can let you know. It looks like it is, except for the 2 matches that are on the free side on FS1, it looks like everything is on Season Pass. That is true. So the 2 matches on FS1 are the only things on the free side of Apple TV. Everything else is on Season Pass. ESPN Plus has the Jägermeister Cup. Murder Owls and Central Valley Fuego at 7:30. Fox Soccer Plus has the Can Champ Pacific and Ottawa at 10. Golasso Network has the other USL Championship match at 7:30 with Lou City and Detroit. Paramount Plus simulcasting Europa Conference League and USL Championship. VIX also has your Europa Conference League final. Busy morning. A lot of stuff. Battery going up against Tristan Traeger. Robbie Crawford returns to Monterey Bay. Dell lets us know. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning at 9:05. We'll catch up with our friends from the USL show. Kaler et al. Will be joining us at 10. Nico joining us at 10:30. And we'll go over what happened tonight in Major League Soccer tomorrow morning at 9:05. And we'll be back at it again. No, that'll be our rest and region day because Friday, it's weekend whip around, and we get you ready for the matchup with Charlotte on Sunday. So, Jarrett, since you're over there and I'm over here, go ahead and send us home, sir, if you would, please.
Let's go.
What he said. Back at it, 9:05 tomorrow morning.